This is GadgetStop321. In today's video, I'm taking a look at a Rhodia Meeting Book. This is the A5 plus size, and this is just a paper that includes all the specifications. It says that the paper is 90 gram per square meter. And down here, again, it says that the paper is 90 gram Rhodia paper. This is the A5 plus. There are 80 sheets of paper. That means you're going to have 160 front and back pages to write on. Okay. The cover is a black poly cover. It's a nice thick cover. It has a slight, if you can see there, it's got a slight pinstripe pattern to it, very subtle. You can barely feel it. It's got the Rhodia orange on the front, and the back also has some specifications. It says real big that the paper is 90 gram paper, and I'm going to come back to that at the end of the video and talk about that. The pages, this is a meeting book, so the pages, each page has a space for the date. Then there's an unlabeled section up here at the top. You could put the topic of the meeting, who's in attendance. It's got a little space labeled notes. This is probably 3/4 of the page. And then the 1/4 on the right side is labeled actions. And then on the back of each page is more labeled notes and more action. So you've got about 1 page per meeting. Now, one thing I want to note on mine, the inside, the binding here, inside the rings, it's supposed to be just solid orange. Mine, the orange did not print, and it's like that through the whole book, but that's just an abnormality with my book. And I got this book at a discounted price. I don't know if that maybe has something to do with it. But the paper feels like my normal Rhodia paper that I'm used to in my Rhodia Ice pads that I use. The rings are a nice solid ring. I like it when a black notebook has black rings, so that looks good. And I'm going to start using this notebook tomorrow, so I wanted to do a pen test today, and I'm going to go through several different types of pens, and I'm going to start with some fountain pens. I'm going to zoom in pretty good here. Let's see. Maybe focus a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to start with a Pilot Custom 74 with a fine nib. Very pleasant to write on, smooth paper. Next, I'm going to write with a medium Lamy CP1. Okay, I'm going to follow that up with a Pilot Pereira with a 1.0 stub nib. Writing with a stub nib on this paper just feels great. Let's see. Next, I've got a couple Pilot gel pens. Let's see. I'm going to start out with the thicker one. This is an 07 Now notice my my gel pen skipped a little bit here at the beginning. I had that issue when I was testing my Clairefontaine paper, and I believe this paper is made by Clairefontaine. It's pretty smooth paper, so sometimes you'll have that a hard start because the paper's so smooth. This is an 05. Okay, and I've got a few really wet writing gel pens. These are my daughter's. It's a Uniball Signo. That's really smooth. That feels good. And I've noticed on other papers, the black Uniball really tends to bleed through, or at least try to. It's a really wet writer. Okay, I've got a few Sharpies and a fine liner. This is a Foray style mark, kind of fine line pen. It feels like it's drying out a little bit, but it has still bled through on some papers. Yeah, it feels like it's drying out. Got a red Sharpie, ultra fine point. And a black one. And I've just to really put the paper to the test, I've got 2 full-size Sharpies, a black one, and a gold. And I've got a couple of pencils. I've got my TWSBI Precision Pencil with 0.5 lead, HB. You'll hear fountain pen people talking about a paper having tooth and it being good for writing with pencils. I've found that some of my favorite paper to write on with pencils is smooth paper, especially Rhodia. Rhodia is my favorite. Rhodia and Marmon. Let's see. This is a I think I like Rhodia better. Rhodia paper tends to be, it feels denser. And it could just be this notebook, but the Rhodia paper feels denser. So it's not really the tooth that the paper has, but more how dense the paper is, so that your pencil lead, since when you're writing with a pencil, you're exerting pressure on the paper. You don't want to feel like the lead is pushing down into the paper. Let's see, this is another favorite pencil of mine. This is the Retro Hex-o-matic with 0.7 double B lid. It's okay. It's not my favorite. I still think I prefer Rhodia and Marmon, which I'm kind of surprised. This was HB. The Clairefontaine, I've tested just Clairefontaine graph paper, and I think I liked even it better than this. But let's see how these did. Looks pretty good. The only thing that looks like it's bleeding through is the Sharpies, and even the gold Sharpie didn't bleed through that much. Let me hold it up. Now, I've noticed in other pen tests, this is looking at it with a dark background, so I'm not really seeing any show through. Let's look at it with a white background. Now you see, you may not be able to see, I'm seeing a little bit of show through, but on thin paper like this, if you've used any thin paper, that's very acceptable. Less show through than on Tomoe River paper. So really, I think the paper performs really well. Now I mentioned that the paper was 90 gram per square meter paper. This notebook comes in two variations, the A5 and the A5 Plus. And both of them, when I've read descriptions of them, said that the paper was 80 GSM. But all the labeling on this notebook says 90. Now, the A5 and the A5 Plus, the only difference that I've been able to determine in those two notebooks is what the cover's made out of. The A5 Plus has this polyplastic cover, and the A5 has either a black or an orange paper cover, kind of like this Clairefontaine notebook. What's odd to me is that the notebook with the plastic cover is less expensive than the notebook with the paper cover. The number of pages is the same. Everything else appears to be the same, but every place I've looked, the notebook with the paper cover is less expensive. The only thing I can figure out is maybe all of that was mislabeled as 90 GSM and it's supposed to be 80 GSM. But regardless, we've done the pen test and it performs well. So I have to say I'm happy with this. I'm going to start using this tomorrow. Instead of using it for meeting notes, I just finished up a notebook, a black and red notebook that I was using for Sunday school in church. And I think this would be great. I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I have room for my date, for whatever the topic is for our lesson. I can list who's here. I can write out my notes, any actions or prayer requests or anything. You've got room for that over here. I think this is going to be perfect for Sunday school and church. I can do my Sunday school on one side and my church notes on the other side. So I'm looking forward to getting started using this tomorrow. If this video has been helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.